Welcome back to the most professional StarCraft 2 with the wild card Zerg player in the blue, the Lord of the Links. It's Dong Regu. And facing off against the Protoss in the red, somebody sound the alarm. We have an SOS. A best of 7 Protoss versus Zerg showdown between two of the most cheesy players in StarCraft 2 history. And even if you're slightly lactose intolerant, hopefully you'll appreciate my cheesy segue into begging you to smash that like button. And maybe even subscribe. Help me count the algorithm. And Jimmy, what are we at? Jimmy. 1,625 likes on this video, on this cast. And I'll cast another one. And I'll probably do it anyways, because I don't know what else I'd do with my life. So thank you for watching. Hopefully you've had a good day so far. And hopefully it's about to get just a little bit better than DRG as SOS comes in with the pro and blocks the Natchery. There's already a third base out there. This is more something for spite than for economic principles. But honestly, that's been SOS's mission objective throughout most of his incredibly successful yet roller coaster career. And back for more indeed, with a Void Ray to start things off, which in and of itself is inherently suspicious. The tool of someone who has something to hide, or at least wants to demonstrate that idea. As the Void Ray is, in many ways, just worse than the Oracle. Not nearly as good at killing workers, at scouting, but it can destroy those early overlords and make it that much harder to predict what's coming out behind it. And with SOS, I think it could literally be anything. He's a player much like, honestly, like the proto-hero. Sounds weird to say. Who can literally do whatever he wants. Though sometimes spends more time asking whether or not he could than whether or not he, oh my. Spends more time asking whether or not he could rather than whether or not he should. Fleet Beacon is on the way. Less than 4 minutes into the game. Literally the first thing after the Void Ray. No Oracle at all follow-up. Nothing but the Fleet Beacon. His only gas was spent on a couple of depths to help hold down this incredibly unwieldy wall. So, Tempest? A Tempest, and he rushes into Tectonic Destabilizers, the upgrade that allows Tempest to do almost double damage to buildings, just ripping right through them. And the answer to this is, well, the Zerg has several answers to early pressure, which are queens, more queens, or an all-in that is usually supported by queens. So, DRG he's not actually building any more queens right now, has 5 overlords on the way. Just finished up 1, but Lair and Roachwine. So not oh, then the Zergling spots it. The Zergling flew right underneath the Tempest. Immediately more queens in production. But queens don't have nearly the range nor maneuverability that obviously Tempests have. And there is no real way to put on any sort of pressure on the other side of the map. He would have already had to build Zerglings, Roaches. DRG's going to have a huge amount of drones. He's working on 70 drones now. Unfortunately, the Tempest can take them out in a single shot. So the Queens... Brenda, sound the alarm! Oh, it's an emergency! Would you say it's like a SOS situation, Susan? Shut up, Brenda, we already made that joke! I don't... Sorry. Yeah. Blacked out for... Wow, the Queen's besieged by the Tempest, constantly using that airspace. A few knitting needles coming out, but the shield shrugging it off. The Tempest count growing dramatically. A Spire is halfway done, but that is a long time before having any sort of direct answer to these Tempests. The Queen's getting jammed up on each other, terrestrially bound and suffering for it. The target fire obliterates yet another Queen. Already 2 of them going down. Almost enough to kill them in a single volley now. As the Tempest shots continue to rain down. Tectonic Destabilizers completed. And the Spore Crawlers being called back in, but is that enough to kill them in a single shot? Not the Queens, the Spores, but The hatchery itself is under fire. At this point, SOS killing off a King Henry of Queens. And there's 7 Corruptors on the way. But the damage has been done. SOS has lost 1 probe. Meanwhile, DRG just lost his 10th Queen. However many Spore Crawlers drones, the hatchery itself. Oh no! What a disaster! Another one. The Corruptors are coming out. May be able to pick off one of the Tempests, but yeah, immediate recall. It'll cost 1 Tempest. What's the damage? That's a lot of damage. 11 Queens, a Hatchery, a Corruptor, 4 Spore Crawlers, assorted other units. Well, and now SOS is sliding back down the tech tree. He built a clutch of Void Rays here, as well as now adding on Blink and +1, like some sort of normal Protoss build. And the Corruptors, Void Rays singularly suited to dealing with the Corruptors with prismatic alignment, giving him that extra anti-armored DPS. And I need to stress, just because the beam is thicker doesn't mean it does more damage to everything, all right? It's only armored units, which units that are not armored, that you may think are armored, Queens, okay? Ravagers, not armored units. Lings, obviously not armored. All buildings are. Corruptors are armored, but just to be clear, and now the Void Rays looking to light things up. Queens underneath, the surviving ones. At least for now, looking for the Natchery again. Blink is about completed. I don't know how many Stalkers, they're not coming across the map. Corruptors are gonna fight, picks off a Void Ray. The Tempests themselves, not as well suited for dealing with this. No upgrades for SOS. He's actually gonna end up losing the entire air army to the Corruptors. But what does DRG have on the ground? He's building a handful of roaches. Oh no, the Queens will be blunked upon, and the entire monarchy has been guillotined by SOS. There is not a single Queen. He gets the roach for it. 5 Ravagers in production before the Stalkers could siphon off. The hatchery will die again. And the Ravagers and Lings are closing in, but +1 is done for the Stalkers. He's just picking off the Ravagers and blinking his way out. Corruptors are headed across the map. More Stalkers coming in for the flank. And this is not a fight that DRG is winning. Blunks forward yet again. Almost picks off the Ravager. Roaches and Hydras. Roach Ward and Hydra Den in production. Corruptors trying to melt through the natural nexus of SOS. At least forces him to warp in some Stalkers back at home. He drives back the Stalkers at the front. And despite all of this, DRG appreciating that quantity has a quality all its own. He's got 74 drones. He still has 4. Well, he has 3 bases because he lost his natural twice. And he's taking that base to the north. So DRG, despite the struggles here, the trials and the tribulations, is not in a terrible position. And in fact, SOS reaches for the Dark Shrine. A Shrine to Dark. Extra appropriate at this time, which is an odd choice considering the Templar Archives is right there. Caustic Spray trying to melt through the Nexus. And down goes the Nexus. Both players losing their second base in the first 10 or so minutes of the game. DRG twice, SOS once, and neither player with a distinct advantage going into what we'll begrudgingly call the mid to late game. Mid-game. +2 ranged attack is on the way. 2 more hatcheries in production, but one of them at the natural. Infestation Pit just starting. Charge and +2 Protoss ground weapons for SOS. So both players filling in parts of their tech, neither feeling confident enough. SOS already has a fleet beacon, though. He's already reached the top of the mountain. He doesn't have to climb it yet again. Right now, he's just circling around and maybe skiing down, but meanwhile, DRG can't even start his hive yet. I'd imagine a lurker den would be on the agenda soon afterwards. There's the hive. 4 DTs being warped in. Lurker den in the main. Corruptors looking for an opportunity. Stalkers stalking. What madness. One DT is taken out. Stalker's moving out. Trying to take advantage of the momentary confusion. DT makes it into the main where there's no Spore Crawler. And he can almost certainly kill the drones here. The drones will run away. 3, 4 of them dead. And down the center, the Stalkers will pick off the base. Another win for SOS. A DT stuck in the corner. Stand very still. Zerg vision is based on movement. And now slicing through more and more drones. 10, 12 drones thus far. SOS now with a worker lead, as DRG has been entirely pushed back. Finally, a Templar archive, as well as a mothership on the way. Some optimistic force fields as the sentries were pushed into the front of everything. And DRG has not been able to comfortably mine from 4 bases pretty much the entire game. Finally, the main base, Dark Templar, is cleared up. SOS, with less than half of the APM, 230, which is positively glacial in this day and age, keeping DRG with over 500 on his many weird Zerg toes. Storm is on the way. Not that DRG, I think, knows what to do with it at the moment. DRG always known for having that sort of speed, but not necessarily the precision. Lurker range is on the way. Mothership nearly completed both sides, building up to that tier 3 sort of tech. And with Storm, things get a lot harder for DRG's more ground-based composition, but right now, just Stalkers are not going to be able to match the weight of the Roach Hydra and soon-to-be Lurkers. Shield batteries top off a lot of the Stalkers. Storm not quite done yet as the Lurkers burrow down outside the 4th base. 10 seconds on the clock, I think sped along by Chrono Boost. And bringing the Overseers up. Storm is completed. Lays down one. Catches the Hydra. Softens up Lurkers as well. Charge lots. Gonna try and counterattack to the north. More Storms warding away the main army. But the Templar are out of energy and the Lurkers are moving forward. Meanwhile, the Corruptors attempt to pick off the base. Charge lots found a juicier proposition at the 3rd. Gonna start slicing up the drones. Meanwhile, though, the Nexus itself is under the Lurker spawns. 19 Hydras in production. Charge lots driven away yet again, some of them caught by stop position drones. The Nexus itself is under fire. The Mothership has arrived, and with a combination Cloak and Storm and Time Warp here, it looks like SOS will hold by the skin of his non-existent Protoss teeth. The Charge lots will chase down. The probes were taken out. DRG had 76 to 66 workers, but struggling to actually find the bases to mine from. The main base is mining out. I guess SOS helped out by killing the 2nd base a couple times, so it's not nearly mined out yet compared to the 3rd. But both players are going to be struggling economically despite the worker count, which is why it's extra important SOS holds on to this base. But DRG has the numbers. The Storms can help hold the line. More cannons coming up. There's 3 or 4 Templar. Energy recharge still 30 seconds out. Another Storm catches a chunk of the Roach Hydra, but the Lurkers are hitting the Nexus. 1 cannon remains. Hydra's coming in from every angle. He's trying to dodge the Lurker spines with a unit that is defended by a cape and strong words. And down goes the 3rd Nexus. SOS prioritizing keeping his army alive, which is probably more worth it in the long and the short run. But his income has plummeted as DRG, the major issue for DRG is he hasn't taken a 5th base. So he's still in a very tenuous position economically. He's actually mining out of his 4th already. Has not added a hatchery anywhere. SOS re-expanding to the north. The reinforcements will deal with this. Storms. Lurkers trying to do a kind of a leapfrog siege situation. And if he gets the 3rd, SOS is pretty much out of mining. Oracle is on the way. Revelation required to deal with Lurkers in these numbers. Observers are inherently unreliable. And the Lurkers will just burrow down, just wade through the Storms. Now the probes are under fire. Does he have... He has Hydra speed, just not lunge. Some more overs. If he loses the overseers, then active cloaking, there it is. Observers overhead, and that's a good angle for the Templar. He's warding things away for now. Another wave of cannons. SOS had so much money in the bank. He's back to Tempest. But DRG gonna be hitting the base over to the left side. Unfortunately, Storms, Templar, and cannons are already ready there. He's gonna get a couple Archon merges as well. The Lurker's moving forward over to the third base. DRG keeping the pressure on, but kind of floundering the attack to the north. He's gonna lose several Lurkers and not kill the base. More storms as inclement weather keeps him at bay. The charge lots are cutting through the back line. DRG has expanded down the center, but a Tempest is back out. The Templar and Tempest are anything but temporary parts of the Protoss unit composition, and it's still... DRG has the army, but it's such a tenuous spot. Lurkers and Hydras against Templar and Tempest. Even though DRG has the sheer army supply, he's 1 or 2 storms away from disaster. He will take the center base. DRG really needs to have more options for expansions. I'm really surprised he didn't expand over to the right side, giving himself some leeway just in case SOS is able to put together an attack. That is the major concern now, is that the Protoss army, the death ball, if you might, could be too strong. DRG adding in more Zerglings. His anti-tier is 27 Hydralisks. There are 5 High Templar. Working on these rocks here. Tectonic destabilizers has been done for quite a while. Obviously. SOS. And here we go. Revelation. Templar. Archon picked off. Some charge lots added in, but simultaneously the Lurkers underneath on top of the probes. He's gonna lose so many of them. A semi-base trade scenario. The probes are being slaughtered. 25 probes remain. DRG has gutted the economy, but again, he's expanded to the only location where SOS can essentially isolate 2 bases simultaneously. SOS still has a chance here, because DRG has to beat this army, and right now, neither player really has any income. Both of them are still mining from their natural because of the activities of earlier in the game. Hilariously so. But the fact is that DRG doesn't even have the money for another hatchery. And mining from this location is precarious at best. The army values are 94 to 91 supply. The total army value is actually, cost-wise, slightly in favor of SOS. The big issue is 5 Tempest and 7 High Templar against just 19 Hydras. The storms are looming at the moment. DRG finds an opportunity to mine again. 1 Infestor on the way. Revelation tags. SOS has done a great job of keeping tabs on things. Gonna pick off 1 more Lurker, maybe 2 if he's bold enough to blink. How has it come to this? These 2. Couple charge lots sent out. They've just slapped each other into almost non-existent economies. DRG must defend this base. He needs income. His army doesn't build energy. He doesn't have any energy units besides the Infestors currently in production. As time goes on, the High Templar energy grows. He can use the mothership cooldowns. Time favors SOS here, even without really the income. Especially now that DRG lost the only potential mining base. What is he gonna long distance mine? Have these drones, how long have they been sitting there? It doesn't matter. Hydras lunge forward. A dangerous game draws out a storm. He's coming around the corner. This might be a microbial shroud situation, though a fungal would help. Trying to throw it out there. Infestors. Not known for... Oh, not again. Deja vu. We've just been in this place before. SOS returns to the location he besieged 15 minutes ago. DRG gonna go for the counterattack. The queens are once again called in. 17, 18 queens dead this game. Another Nexus dead. 20 queens slaughtered. The storms on the drones. Are we going into... Is he actually going to all-out base trade? But he can recall them. Full-on elimination race. But there's some storms back at home. A couple more. He wades through it. Yet another storm. There's still energy for recall. DRG is... He doesn't want to fight the army. But I feel like SOS can choose the battle. He does need to recall to his main. Otherwise, we may actually be in an elimination race. If he kills the main, now or never. It's now. It has to be now. He must recall. He does. Everything on the line. Everyone piling in. There's the mothership. Here come the fungals. Throws the storms down across the board. The splash damage. A tsunami of destruction. And DRG with 0 drones and almost no supply has not rebuilt his base, but is actually fighting. Oh, but the Tempest. The Tempest. It started with the Tempest and it ends with the Tempest. As DRG drags it into a chaotic base trade. I don't know if it was his best chance, but it certainly was something. Okay, well, if that doesn't define how this series is gonna go, I don't know what will. Neither player willing to give up their game plan. Is that good or bad? It is. SOS takes game number 1, though. Was it confident? I mean, I'm sure you'd say it is. We're going into our 3-player map. By the way, this is from the Soup Live Super 7 show matches. If you haven't yet checked them out, it'd be awesome. You go on over to souplive.com/super7s. Soup with 2 O's. I can see how that could be misconstrued. Soup as in the second best Zerg player in Korean StarCraft 2 history. Not as in the liquid food. Alright, now that we've established that. Jimmy, put it in the description so people don't have to think. They don't like doing that after they like and subscribe. Sorry. But absolute chaos. Exactly as I expected. The unexpected. SOS making the Tempest work at all stages of the game. Honestly, the Tempests are such a... They force such a response early on. Your main vulnerability is to just straight up dying. Okay? I know that's many people's vulnerability. Well established, but the Tempest is a huge investment to get there. You gotta get the fleet beacon. The Tempest, he went for tectonic destabilizers. But if the Zerg is not effectively blindly setting up like a Nidus all-in or something along those lines, they just kind of gotta sit there and take it. And some people are into that, but certainly it's a painful process. Overall. As losing, what was it, 12, 14 queens in the first 8 minutes is, difficult. The thing is, DRG almost turned it around. I think that the main concern was with the expansion pattern, not giving himself options. SOS has an army that can effectively besiege an entire screen at the same time. And then you expand right down the center. Well, another Stargate is on the way. And yes, this DRG actually scouts the correct direction with his first Overlord. This is a 3-player map, which has created already some of our most interesting games. Our first time having a more than 2-player map in, like, years. Like half a decade, even. Very cool. This is the other spawning location. A lot of opportunity for sneaky... And none of this done to stop DRG, who has a Baneling nest on the way. Well. It's going to be a good old-fashioned Bane bust. And now here's the thing. If SOS was going for the same thing, like a Void Ray into denying scouting, this could work great. But against Oracles? Well, SOS does use a pylon as part of the wall, which I would like it to be on the record saying I disapprove of. But we'll see if it becomes a liability or the main point of defense. There's no vision of this. Let's see. SOS currently in the dark about it. Sips on an energy recharge. Has absolutely no vision. There's nothing in... Oh, he spots a few. There's some alarm bells, but even more. As the Banelings crash into the pylon, will take out the Adept and surround the rest. The Oracle comes back home to defend. And a little bit of that extra warning. And another pylon slapped down to hold the line. Gonna overwhelm the Adepts. Tries to bust a Baneling, and 9 probes dead thus far, but DRG only has 19 drones back at home. He needs to do as much damage as possible. Second Oracle is on the way. Oracle starting to chew through the Zerglings in the main base. The pylon backing it up. And that second gateway positioning is so important here for SOS. Without it, there's a chance he just breaks through again. But still 26 to 19 workers. He's still building Moracles. So while that is still true... Oh, wow. SOS set this up so well. The backup wall. And without another wave of Banelings? And how are you going to make the Banelings work? Between energy recharge and 3 Oracles overhead? It feels like this is stopped almost before it started. DRG got in, but superficial damage at best. How many probes? 14 probes. SOS plummets to a 6-worker lead. DRG committed so much. And his last fantasy here is that he will break through the cyber core and maybe get something done. I'm kind of surprised SOS is sending out all 3 Oracles while his cyber core is under fire. Is there any dream that he actually loses it? Oh, he's recharging it. This is sad. How many Zerglings? And he starts a fleet. Wow. What a matter of principle this is. The Oracles. Honestly, he doesn't need to kill any drones. Just the threat of the Oracles here lights up, burns out another hatchery. The Queens will... Brandon! Did you calculate this? Clearly not. Look at what happened. 2 Queens dead. And a drone. And, well... And tectonic destabilizers on the way. Wow. That is not good. Two Tempests at a time. This is what SOS wants, alright? He wants Tempest, he wants tectonic destabilizers. Does DRG... Okay, he's not going to leave the game upon seeing the Tempest. But I think that would be a reasonable counter. Last game with overwhelming economy and preparation, it was still a struggle. He eventually dealt with it. Here, he doesn't even have a third base, thanks to the Oracles yet again. So, 3 Queens versus 3 Tempests. And now he's just popping the... Okay. Wow. 5 drones popped. A Spire is on the way. DRG. Okay, DRG. He gave it a good effort. The Baneling bust had a chance, but SOS handled it near perfectly. And he did go Oracle this time. Was kind of an important point. Yeah. G. Quite a difficult one, but wow. SOS bringing back the rush to Sky Toss, cutting out any sort of those silly Blink Stalker or Adept Glaive timings. Doesn't even matter if he gets Battling busted. Believe it or not, Sky Toss. As we sprint into game 3. SOS up 2-0. DRG struggling to find an answer. Again, we got the wall. A single pylon. You know what? We saw there the method to the madness. DRG tried to exploit it with the Baneling Bust. And SOS, it was like an airlock. Alright, let in just enough lings that it feels like they're doing something. Meanwhile, they've committed so much of their economy, they can almost never recover. Kind of a strong demonstration of why we rarely see direct Zerg rushes nowadays. As even a single Oracle is usually enough to dismantle it, despite any potential damage. Also, kind of why Oracles are such a staple in the early game. Alright. See what DRG has for us. I think it's on DRG to figure it out. SOS, with not playing perfectly, especially in game number 1, but has that almost inevitable feeling style. I guess we could easily say that now, but when you're going up to the top of the tech tree as your first move, clearly you're confident. I don't think anyone's ever accused SOS of having a lack of confidence. The man who, in a winner-take-all, like 400,000 out, was it? 100,000? I want to say it's 100,000. I am Katowice 2013, 14, where in game 7 he proxy gated in his opponent's base. Like, and won, by the way. The gamble, the straight up all in, all out gamble. He is no stranger to taking the biggest risks. So, will he do it again? Is it going to be another fleet beacon? I wouldn't put it past him. In fact, I think it's likely. He's found a build that clearly works. Oracle's on the way. Exhausting. SOS has a lot of gas. Oh, Void Ray behind an Oracle? Uh-huh. I don't know how much of this is method and how much of this is madness. It feels like there's a lot more behind this than a hero build. But maybe I just want there to be some sanity left to us when it comes to Protoss. So the Oracle, in order to keep tabs on what DRG is up to, throws out a stasis. Is that gonna work? Okay. Mandated work break for one drone. Overlord burnt out by the Void Ray. Fully aligned. Twilight Council on the way, so SOS kind of rotating through. You're not gonna just do Grave Depths. It's entirely possible. Another stasis in the main. One more drone. Caught for now. And the Shady Bunch coming through. Just 4 Adepts. Zerglings will wrap around one. More coming into the natural. Gonna get a few kills. DRG without many drones to give away here. 51 to 45. He's actually a little supply block thanks to the Void Ray and the Queens. Well, they'll be here by the time the Adepts shade out. The Zerglings may catch one. Void Ray there to help out, but it's not going to be enough. Blink is the choice. Another one! Third stasis, third drone caught. Or the same drone again, either way. Forge behind as well. DRG already has that lair on the way. Plenty of economy. And notably, this is just Blink. +1 is going to be significantly delayed. SOS is just not going to have that many stalkers. So it shouldn't be... 5 gas geysers on the... Mutas? Roach is on the way. I guess Ravager Ling also makes sense. Something to crush the Blink Stalkers if possible. Though, does he know it's Blink Stalkers for sure? That's the thing. The way that SOS is played, it's not a guarantee at all until he sees the Blink. Until he sees more than like 5 or 6 Stalkers. This could still be Tempest. So... yeah, Stalkers, one gets caught, ripped apart by the ankles. Sounds painful. I hope it is. Queen's coming up as well. The Stalker's still just now. Blink finishes. He tries to blink with recall. This is a drunken stumble, though. Already lost 4 Stalkers. Make that 5. Oh. Blinks away just barely. But a whole bunch of Roaches in production. A Dropper Lord. Ladies, our ride is here. Brenda, what are you talking? Lucio, I don't want to hear anything, especially when we get in the Overlord. You will be completely silent. It echoes a surprising amount in there, and I can barely hear anything already. That's... okay, thanks. Sorry, I blacked out for him. Well... DRG has 1 Dropper Lord, 161 supply. There's a Colossus on the way for SOS. The Queens pop in to their first class Overlord. Will at least return to flight temporarily. Meanwhile, the Stalkers blunk in. They use their blink getting in, though, which means they're not going to be able to get out nearly as easily. Trying to wrap around, splits off some of the Roaches, but at SOS with nothing, or... has the Zerglings ripped down his wall. The drones, one of the Queens pops out. The other, we've arrived! And Mr. Zergachev tears down this wall. Depowers the Robo half a second before the Colossus. And DRGG, he claims his first match in dramatic fashion as SOS tries to climb all over the tech tree and gets nowhere fast enough. Finally, DRG is able to strike back. It wasn't exactly the most comprehensive victory, but it was a victory. And I do want to point out at this time that I just noticed DRG is using the Cyril portrait. So make of that what you will. 2-1. SOS not able to sweep it so far. Game 3 will be on Persephone. I have to say, has created our most dramatic games of the new map pool. Between the Healing Shrine, the close air distance, the Highway to Hell, and the gold base in the corner. This map, another key point being how you have to expand towards your opponent past the first 4 bases usually. Especially a Zerg who prefers to stay as far away as possible. So it kind of forces some back and forth after we get past a certain point. Which is not necessarily the case on maps like, say, Amygdala, where you kind of go all around and all that. Just not technically in the map pool anymore, so we may have seen some of our last games. We'll manage. Spawning pool. DRG not trying any sort of super early pool rushes. SOS has been quite consistent on sending the probe out pretty much at the beginning of the game. Even SOS puts his pylon on the pylon placement indicator. Alright, this map has a very clear... I wonder if because the indicator exists is why he's doing that and not as part of the wall. Just like, well, it's that easy. But map makers have started adding pylon indicators as well as base indicators in order to very slightly simplify things. That's taking all the skill out of the game. The real skill is in making sure each of your individual workers is knowing which mineral patch to mine from and getting carpal tunnel before you're 22 years old. I'm sorry. I was talking to too many Brood War fans. Where was I? Stargate it is. In kind of a suspicious location, though. The closest to DRG's main base it could possibly be. Some wild pylons in their natural habitat. Random locations on the map. And keep an extra... I love... It doesn't even... It's not worth it. Besides the emotional damage of blocking the base yet again with a probe. Void Ray in production first from SOS. Which, we'll see what comes next. Wow, gas is at 320. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Not yet. Fleet Beacon is on the way yet again. SOS calls for the aid of the Sky Toss. And the Tempest will answer. Or it's a mothership or something this time. No, probably Tempest. This is a great map for Tempest. Second Stargate is already in production. Where do we go from here? So DRG, the issue is with the Void Ray first, scouting is nearly impossible. Yes, maybe you can go for Overlord speed, and maybe you can sneak an Overlord in. But if you try it, you've now spent the gas on Overlord speed and the Overlord itself. And if the Void Ray just takes it out, you've delayed any potential response to what you scout by trying to scout in the first place. And really, what's the answer going to be either way? The answer is going to be more queens and getting a layer. So that is the reason you don't usually see Overlord speed as a normal, like, kind of built-in response, is because that Vespene gas is so hard to come by and still do the rest of your build as a Zerg player at this stage of the game. But now, and by the time the layer is done, well, the tech will have already revealed itself as a single Tempest is just casually gliding across the map. More in production. The Triforce of pylons here. And he's just popping drones. With only a single queen to mildly inconvenience the Tempest. Oh my. Yeah, spend a little time lining up the shots in. This is a message from the Hatchery Owners Association. All right, we think this is both unfair and disrespectful. Brenda, they're Protoss. They've been unfair and disrespectful since 1998. Sorry. Tectonic destabilizer Dunspire's already on the way. The Queen's on the edge of the map, and now headed to the unit's lost tab. Is 3 Tempests enough to start chewing through? There's just not enough energy for transfuse. And the terrestrial bounds of the Queens are... Oh, God. Oh, sweet Kerrigan. Tectonic destabilizer. The lair is vulnerable. Spore Crawler annihilated. 1 transfuse, which will very temporarily buy some time. The number is 5 Tempests. Just targeting the hatch. If he gets the hatch, that's... SOS has lost nothing. Again. There's some Zerglings out there. A single Tempest. Bruised. Oh no, the lair. Corruptors are about to pop out, but that single Tempest is being targeted, but the Queen... Oh, it's a disaster. Some Zerglings, good luck. Now, Void Rays on the way. Another Queen. The spawning pool! This is a repeat of game 1, where a single Tempest died. 11 Queens, a lair, a spawning pool, 8 drones, 23 links, mostly on the counterattack. 2 Spore Crawlers. All for the price of 1 Tempest. Oh, the art of the deal there. Yes, but we got a Tempest. Now, DRG's army is 12 Corruptors and 3 Zerglings. The only saving grace is that SOS is almost entirely committed to air for now. Getting charge and +1. The main base, there's a chance here, the Corruptors. Oh, he commits. He's gonna fight the Void Rays. A few Stalkers underneath. With more Stalkers, but more Corruptors are piling in. The Tempest, no shield batteries here. He's diving on it. DRG gonna commit fully. Again, he has the economy. Some charge lots? No, just shaded depths. By the speed they were moving, but that's because of the speed highway. So now 5 Tempests and 3 Void Rays have been taken down. Storm is on the way. +1 air weapons for SOS, +1 ground weapons as well. But DRG rolls with the punches, and he's getting pummeled right now. Loses his main base, lost that spawning pool, but he's rebuilt at the natural. And he's going to go back to 4 bases. Denies the 4th base for just a moment. He kept most of the Corruptors alive, enough to ward away any sort of other counterattack. But now we're in a begrudging sort of build-up phase. As since both players committed almost entirely to air, and they lost most of their air, neither of them have a ground army big enough to reliably do any damage. DRG doesn't have roach speed, which I'm assuming he'll notice momentarily. DRG. They're so slow. Look at those sloaches. The Corruptors, 7 Corruptors, still 1 Void Ray. And he's still getting those air weapons, so... There's +1 flyer attack for DRG. What? Casual Zealot. Yep, those are Hydras. Infestation Pit on the way. I do appreciate the usage of the creep drop on the Ovis. A bit odd to have it. Good. Mothership. Wow, just straight up build up. DRG's nearly maxed out though. There's not too much reason to sit back at this stage, unless you're truly looking to play the supreme late game, which you're, as a Zerg player against Protoss, that feels very masochistic, at the least. So, I would be surprised if DRG just straight up sits back at 200 supply, but I've been surprised before. Some charge launch to the left flank. Corruptors still waiting. Single stalker stalking. You can just build up at this stage, technically, but that's relying on sniping off. That's relying on having the time to rebuild if you don't fight at 200 supply, which he didn't notice his roach speed yet, and now he did. Try to chase down this one stalker, but getting outflanked. Was it worth it? He's freeing up supply for lurkers, is what we'll tell everyone. And indeed, DRG with 6 lurkers on the way. Viper in production. SOS is going to have the premium Protoss army, though. Pretty much everything you can ask for. Decent upgrades, Tempest, Mothership, locking down not 4 but 5 bases with cannons and shield batteries. He's got plenty of Templar with full energy. 2 storms and a feedback apiece. DRG notably has very little gas in the bank despite the minerals. That healing shrine is an interesting position. I don't know if you could straight... I don't think it out-heals Storm. Mothership in position. There's still 5 Corruptors in the skies working on +2 flyer and ranged attack. Road speed about to complete. 3rd Stargate on the way. DRG scurrying by. I think he's trying, like, this is semi-free up supply and semi-actually wants to drag the army back, as he doesn't have that much going for him. And you're like, well, what would DRG do with this position? Greater Spire. Another Spire, Greater Spire. Interestingly, not even thinking about Ultralisks. Again, the gas is our breast. Chiropractor's Office of Spines as the charge lots. Not gonna find it. SOS bringing the Death Ball together. DRG has 1 Viper. Cannot drag out the Mothership, far too heavy. But everything else is vulnerable. I think this is more of a parasitic bomb situation. Feedback is a real option. Storm to ward away, drawing it out. The Changelings helping provide some vision, which can be a struggle at this stage. Baneling, a 2nd Spire now on the way for DRG. That main base is back up and running. The tension. Something's gotta give. SOS has lost 5,000 less resources so far, but about the same amount of gas. Most relevant. Interestingly, not a single attempt at carriers. Greater Spire is on the way. More Overseers. Good vision for SOS, scouting for all this. He's gonna spot the lurkers coming in. Will there be a recall of the main army? And storms before the Corruptors can really get a hit. No, you're not coming in here. No, absolutely not. Ling's dying by the dozen. They just wanted to make sure. Freeing up supply. So DRG, what's it gonna be? SOS has the army now. DRG did not attack. Anidas, he's getting all the fixins, but are any of them good enough to deal with this? Between the Templar and the Tempest, with the Mothership to back him up, can you yank in 1 Tempest? Thing is, DRG doesn't have a huge bank. He has less gas in the bank than SOS. If he had 10k and was picking off 1 Tempest at a time, I'd say, okay, all right, we're working. But, with the revelation. SOS just slowly but surely chipping away. Working on the lurkers. The Tempest take their sweet time lining up their shots, but DRG sending out another attack. He's got Neural Parasite in production as well. Huge commit. So many cannons, though. There are currently 26 cannons and 23 shield batteries, which is apparently enough. Will buy plenty of time until the army can come back and defend. A Nidus over to the right flank. But SOS is just letting DRG take these intensely mediocre fights. DRG has lost 10,000 more resources now. The Nidus. I like the breadcrumb observers and a void ray back at home. Dark Shrine on the way. +3 flyer attack is about to complete for the Tempest and Mothership. And I want to see how DRG avoids this being a death animation that takes quite a while. The storms are cataclysmic. Almost every single unit involved in that fight gets softened up or killed by a storm, and this hatchery is dead and gone. Air weapons level 3 now completed. The Void Ray has survived to work its way through all this, as SOS feels like he may have reached a win condition. Are there any infestors? No. SOS was 6,200, 4,400 in the bank. Hydras and Corruptors in production. The Nidus network targeted to take it out. The Lurkers try to dive in. Here we go. Does he recall out or does he fight? Time Warp. Over the top. Going for the Mothership. Storm wards it away. Lurkers not quite in range of most of this. DRG driven back for now. Flyer attacks level 3 attempted. The Vipers have almost consumed the hatchery to death. A couple Tempest shots, stray shots flying off into the sunset. Might be enough to kill it. DRG, it's not getting any easier. Well, yanks out another couple. Infestors joining the unit composition. Infestor Broodlord is, at least according to Cyril, the way to deal with this. Fungals and Neural Parasite as a threat, and then the Broodlords to zone out the Templar. But I feel like that time has already passed. DRG. This entire game has been a struggle. He's got some Hydras accidentally burrowed. From the very start, the Tempest taking out the main base. He's building more of the same. If SOS ever throws away the army. The Void Ray. Is that a new Void Ray? Maybe. But +3 ground and flyer attack. +2 shields. Fungal catches some of the Templar. Gonna eat the storms to catch the rest. Loses an Overseer though, so active cloaking. There's more Overseers. At least one. 2 in total. DRG.
He's dead, Jen.
DRG has had 200 supply. But He's hoping the best case scenario is SOS actually tries to fight him. But SOS, with a similar, if not larger amount of income, has no obligation to take a fight. If DRG was holding a forward base or something, maybe. But at this stage of the game, SOS has no obligation to actually fight unless DRG is committed into a location that is far less than ideal. Nidus worms will cost about as much gas as DRG has left. He's completely lost. He doesn't have anything here. He's gonna try to keep SOS from taking what definitely should be DRG's base. But the death ball is rolling. Upgrades don't matter against Storm. The Queen, we've arrived! But the Void Ray actually surprisingly may take out a Queen. As he's clearly looking the other way. The Tempest. SOS, the epitome of working smarter and not harder. The cannons on the high ground are unbreakable. SOS seems to have shored up the gaps in his defenses from game one. And, don't know. Okay, cast her head on. Cast her head on. And here come the Tempest. Lays down a Revelation. And the Corruptor's trying to come in. Carrier's right behind. Throws out a Fungal. Reveals most of it. Time Warp down the center. Overseer Storms on top of it all. Parasitic Bomb spraying damage across the Protoss army. More Storms on top of everything. And DRG is super duper dead. Yes, SOS. Making that game look more one-sided than a Mobius strip. That was not very close. And it was not very short. But it definitely was. DRG completely out of ideas there. It's so hard to actually take any of it. If you take that sort of damage to the Tempest, you start out on the back foot and then you're hobbling forward the rest of the game. Especially when you commit to like the Corruptors and taking out the Tempest. Sure, it might work. But if you don't outright deal with the economy, how do you follow that up? And DRG clearly doesn't have an answer. I don't have a great one for you. But SOS, understanding that, is currently on match point in this Super 7 Showmatch showdown. DRG needs to change the paradigm, or SOS is going to be claiming victory. And unfortunately for DRG, the map is literally named Pylon. Now, you might be like, how does that matter? Well, DRG has won the map called Ultra Low, which is clearly Zerg biased. So it's been the struggle for Zerg, I would say, ever since the infested Terran was removed, is figuring out what sort of unit composition actually deals with Sky Toss reliably. Now, if you watch Serral, you'll see Infestor Broodlord as the option still. But it is not the easiest process. It certainly can be done, make no mistake. But SOS made it look inevitable, though. This is why many Zerg players commit to the lair tech timings. Like 200 supply, Roach Hydra, all out attack. Just keep hitting. Drops in the main, Nidus. Maybe even Swarm Host. But anything to avoid the Death Ball Turtle Fest. I think that game demonstrated why. Stargate? Sorry. Stargate? It's good to see SOS back. And he's never been one to shy away from... If the strat's working, just keep doing it. Like, he's always been a poker player, but if you have a winning hand, why not play it every time? Thus, exhaust many of my poker skills that aren't related to Belatra. No need to go all in if you can simply call. Or something like that. Oracle first. Not the Void Ray, but I think that's where the gambling happens. He switches up his early Stargate units. And honestly, since the Stargate units are so expensive, 150 gas a piece. That's like your build in of itself. That's more gas than a Twilight Council or a Robo. So whichever Stargate unit you build first is your build, just as much as the Stargate itself is. And the way you play the game is very dependent on those early Stargate units. As right now, Oracles. One Oracle, he slapped the energy recharge into it. Couple of depths headed for the main. But just trying to drag everything away. Bit optimistic. Queens had a rough series so far. I don't think I've ever seen this many queens die in a single series. Possibly ever. It's been a very brutal day for them. Probably 40-something queens die. Stasis. Sacrifices. The drone. I'll take one for the team, guys. I guess I'll just have to sit here. Another stasis. But the positioning is actually... almost made it too difficult to attack. Meanwhile, Shady Bunch headed out. Past the super cool looking energy bridges. +1 melee attack is the choice. And the adepts, not quite enough. Another stasis. Found himself so much time. DRG is only at, he just went up to 50 drones. But the adepts have kept the economy limited throughout. And he's keeping the shades far enough out that the queens can't threaten the oracle, which is protecting him. One Moracle added on. Wow, what a play. SOS with the stasis on the high ground, trying to drag the Lings back, but the Adepts at the natural, there's nothing in the wall. So the Zerglings get in. Things getting weird right now. Stasis Ward catches a whole bunch of the drones, but the Adepts are at the natural. He recalls back the Oracle. Zerglings in the main. Recall. Oracles don't have enough energy to really deal with this. So he has energy recharge, which solves that problem pretty quickly. 7 drones dead. 6 probes. Well, I think this went better for SOS, but it was quite a confusing process. There's still a stasis ward in the corner of the main, wading through the energy bridges, which work like regular bridges. They just look super cool. To be clear, there's no like special feature besides how amazing they look. A whole bunch more gases on the way for DRG, but quite a mediocre economy overall. Just kind of flailing out whatever. What is 4 no charge, just slow lots, just zealots. Some random stalkers, just sending it right now. And there's only 20 Zerglings on the map. They do have +1 melee attack. This is a surprisingly potent attack, considering. And the Queen's gonna try to drive it back. Zerglings trying to carve their way in. A few more Adepts behind. Not gonna be enough here. The Queens! Oh no. This is it, baby. Hold me, Susan. No, just fall back. I got a bad feeling about this. Oh my, calm down. Sorry, blacked out for... Doesn't transfuse. Feels like DRG is just trickling into death here. SOS, this is the most random smorgasbord attack. The 4 zealots aren't even involved. They are now. +1 is done, which means that they kill off Zerglings in 2 hits. Even though the Zerglings have +1 melee, it's still an intensely great trade for the zealots. Another wave. SOS has a supply lead against a Zerg going Roach-ling, which I should not have to explain is not ideal. I don't think that stasis will work how he thinks it will, but interesting. Charge lots headed back. Archons protected by oracles. As SOS just chopping his way through. Though the Archons with overwhelming power now. Making things impossibly difficult. 6 more drones dead. SOS has a lead on that front. Now, does this work? Yeah, well, the idea was good. Down goes the hatchery. Enough roaches in stasis that it becomes a bit of a liability. Zerglings in the main. Chops up the isolated queens and roaches. Oh my. Another game where the queens will suffer horribly. Somehow the Zerglings got all the way in, but SOS still a comfortable amount of workers. There's an Oracle just chilling in the main. Stand and watch on everything. In fact, the Oracles have lived through all this. DRG doesn't really have any drones. Oof. After a couple back and forth battles, DRG loses track of it, and SOS with a decisive 4-1 victory. Wow. What a demonstration. SOS, I think, is back. And clearly has his own unique and devastating take on the Protoss versus Zerg matchup. DRG struggling to really hold on to any sort of, well, anything throughout the series. But still, I enjoyed it. I hope you did as well. Thank you to the Super 7s. Make sure to check out the link in the description. And if you got the means and motivation, it'd be awesome to check out Patreon or YouTube membership. Though I hear liking and subscribing is still free. At least for now. Thank you to our Mule Tier patrons, Big Jiggy, Devin, Door, Mario, Random Guy, Suit, for bringing in the extra minerals, and everyone. I hope I made your day a little bit better. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Good luck. Have fun. Stay chill.